God is crying to reach you. Not because He wants to punish you. Not because He wants to embarrass you. Not because He wants to expose your secrets before the world. But because there is a battle taking place around your life that you cannot fully see. And if you listen carefully today, you may finally understand why so many strange things have happened recently. Why certain doors closed. Why certain people disappeared. Why certain plans suddenly fell apart. Why your spirit has felt restless. Why your heart has been carrying questions that nobody seems able to answer. Stay with me until the end because this message is about a major arrest. Not the arrest of a person by human authorities. But the arrest of fear. The arrest of deception. The arrest of the forces that have been trying to keep you trapped. And yes, you are involved. Because the battlefield is your life. The story begins with a question. Have you ever felt that something was trying to stop you right before a breakthrough? Right before something good happened? Right before a blessing arrived? Right before a dream became possible? Many people think these moments are random. But throughout history, before great victories, there were great battles. Before freedom, there was resistance. Before light, there was darkness. Before restoration, there was opposition. And perhaps that is exactly where you are right now. You have been fighting battles nobody knows about. Smiling while carrying burdens. Encouraging others while secretly needing encouragement yourself. Trying to stay strong while wondering how much longer you can continue. But today, this message is not about your weakness. It is about what heaven sees. Because heaven sees everything. Every tear. Every prayer. Every sleepless night. Every disappointment. Every moment when you felt forgotten. Every moment when you almost gave up but somehow kept moving forward. Nothing escaped God's attention. Nothing. And that is why this message is urgent. Not because disaster is coming. But because God does not want you to miss what He is doing. Sometimes people imagine God speaking through earthquakes and thunder. But often He speaks through moments. Small moments. Unexpected moments. Moments that seem ordinary until you realize they changed everything. What if this is one of those moments? What if the reason you clicked on this video is bigger than you think? What if God has been trying to get your attention for longer than you realize? Think back over the last few weeks. How many times did something happen that seemed unusual? How many times did you feel a warning in your spirit? How many times did you sense that something was changing? You may not have understood it then. But sometimes understanding comes later. Sometimes God reveals the meaning after the journey has already begun. And that brings us to the arrest. Imagine a courtroom. Imagine fear standing trial. Imagine every lie that told you that you were not good enough. Every lie that told you it was too late. Every lie that told you that your future was ruined. Every lie that told you that God had abandoned you. Now imagine those lies being exposed. Imagine evidence being presented. Imagine truth entering the room. Imagine darkness losing its voice. That is the arrest we are talking about. Because there are things that have been holding people captive for years. Fear. Bitterness. Regret. Shame. hopelessness. And many people have accepted these things as permanent residents in their lives. But heaven never intended for them to stay. There comes a moment when chains break. There comes a moment when lies lose power. There comes a moment when truth enters and everything changes. And perhaps that moment is closer than you think. The enemy wants you distracted. The enemy wants you discouraged. The enemy wants you exhausted. Because a tired person is easier to convince. A discouraged person is easier to deceive. A hopeless person is easier to control. But what happens when hope returns? Everything changes. What happens when faith returns? Everything changes. What happens when a person finally realizes that God never left? Everything changes. There are people listening right now who have been carrying invisible weight. Weight from old mistakes. Weight from broken relationships. Weight from disappointments. Weight from dreams that never happened. And that weight has convinced them that nothing will ever change. But listen carefully. The future is not determined by your worst day. The future is not determined by your biggest mistake. The future is not determined by your greatest failure. Your story is still being written. The chapter you are in is not the final chapter. And that matters. Because many people quit in the middle of the story. They mistake a chapter for the ending. They mistake a delay for a denial. They mistake a battle for a defeat. But the story is not over. Not even close. Think about all the times God protected you without your knowledge. The accidents that never happened. The mistakes you almost made. The places you almost went. The decisions you almost took. How many times were you protected without realizing it? More than you know. More than you can count. More than you can imagine. Sometimes God's greatest miracles are the ones we never see. The danger we never encounter. The problem we never experience. The crisis that never arrives. Protection is often invisible. But it is still real. And right now, God is calling His people to wake up. To stop measuring life only by what they see. To stop measuring their future only by current circumstances. To stop measuring God's faithfulness by temporary situations. Because temporary situations do not tell the whole story. A storm does not last forever. A night does not last forever. A season does not last forever. Change is coming. Growth is coming. Healing is coming. Restoration is coming. Not because life is perfect, but because God is faithful. There is a reason hope survives. There is a reason faith survives. There is a reason people keep rising after falling. Because God specializes in restoration. He restores confidence. He restores peace. He restores purpose. He restores vision. He restores people who thought they were beyond repair. And maybe that is exactly what you need to hear today. Maybe you have spent too much time focusing on what went wrong. Maybe you have spent too much time listening to voices that only speak negativity. Maybe you have spent too much time believing that your best days are behind you. But what if they are ahead of you? What if this season is preparation? What if these struggles are building strength? What if these delays are positioning you for something greater? Suddenly everything looks different. Suddenly the pain has purpose. Suddenly the waiting has meaning. Suddenly the struggle becomes part of the story instead of the end of the story. That is why this message matters. Because God is not trying to scare you. He is trying to awaken you. He is trying to remind you. He is trying to show you that your life has value. Your future has value. Your purpose has value. You are not here by accident. You are not breathing by accident. You are not listening by accident. There is purpose attached to your existence. There is purpose attached to your journey. There is purpose attached to your story. And no amount of opposition can cancel what God has planned. People may doubt you. Circumstances may challenge you. Fear may attack you. But purpose remains. Calling remains. Hope remains. God remains. So today, choose faith over fear. Choose hope over despair. Choose courage over anxiety. Choose purpose over confusion. And remember the message of this moment. The arrest is happening. The arrest of fear. The arrest of doubt. The arrest of every lie that told you that your story was over. Truth is entering the room. Light is entering the room. Hope is entering the room. And when hope enters, everything changes. The next chapter of your life does not belong to fear. It does not belong to darkness. It does not belong to hopelessness. It belongs to possibility. It belongs to purpose. It belongs to the God who has never stopped watching over you. So lift your head. Keep moving forward. Keep believing. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Because your story is not ending. Your story is unfolding. And the God who carried you yesterday is still carrying you today. The God who protected you yesterday is still protecting you today. The God who guided you yesterday is still guiding you today. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And you never will be. The battle is not finished. But neither is the victory. And that is why hope remains. That is why faith remains. That is why this message remains. Because God is still reaching. Still calling. Still guiding. Still restoring. And the best part of your story may be closer than you think. And there is something else you need to understand. The reason many people never recognize God's voice is because they are expecting Him to speak through noise. But God often speaks through patterns. Through repeated moments. Through unexpected reminders. Through doors opening and closing. Through convictions that refuse to leave your heart. Through opportunities that arrive at exactly the right time. And if you have been paying attention lately, you may have noticed a pattern. Certain things no longer satisfy you the way they once did. Certain conversations feel different. Certain relationships feel different. Certain goals feel different. It is as if something inside you has begun changing. That feeling is not an accident. Growth often begins before understanding arrives. The seed begins growing underground long before anyone sees the plant. The foundation is built before the house appears. Preparation happens before promotion. And many people become frustrated because they only focus on what they can see. But heaven sees what is happening beneath the surface. Heaven sees the preparation. Heaven sees the development. Heaven sees the transformation. Even when nobody else notices. Even when you do not notice. That is why you cannot judge your future based on your current situation. A person standing in the middle of construction might think nothing beautiful exists. They see dust. They see noise. They see unfinished work. But the architect sees something else. The architect sees the finished masterpiece. And God sees the masterpiece He is building within you. Not the unfinished version. Not the broken version. Not the fearful version. He sees the completed version. He sees who you are becoming. He sees where you are going. He sees victories that have not happened yet. He sees prayers that have not been answered yet. He sees blessings that have not arrived yet. And that is why He keeps telling you not to quit. Because quitting would make you leave before the breakthrough. Many people walk away too soon. They stop believing one day before the answer. They stop trying one step before success. They stop trusting one season before restoration. Do not make that mistake. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have learned too much. You have grown too much. To turn back now. The battle may have been difficult. But look at yourself. You are still here. The storms came. You are still here. The disappointments came. You are still here. The betrayals came. You are still here. The tears came. You are still here. The uncertainty came. You are still here. That alone is evidence that God has been sustaining you. Because there were moments when your own strength was not enough. There were moments when your own wisdom was not enough. There were moments when your own plans were not enough. Yet somehow you continued. Somehow you endured. Somehow you survived. And the answer is simple. God was carrying you through seasons you could not have survived alone. Now listen carefully because this next part is important. There are battles that happen in public. Everyone sees them. Everyone talks about them. Everyone understands them. But there are also private battles. Battles nobody knows about. Battles fought in silence. Battles fought behind smiles. Battles fought behind closed doors. Battles fought in the middle of the night. And some of you have been fighting those private battles. You smiled when your heart was hurting. You encouraged others while feeling discouraged yourself. You remained faithful when nothing seemed to be changing. You kept going when every reason to quit stood in front of you. God saw every one of those moments. Every single one. Not one was wasted. Not one was ignored. Not one was forgotten. The world may overlook silent faithfulness. But heaven never does. In fact, some of the greatest victories begin in hidden places. Before David faced Goliath, he fought battles nobody saw. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he endured years nobody celebrated. Before great breakthroughs come hidden preparation. And perhaps that is exactly what has been happening in your life. Perhaps the waiting has been preparation. Perhaps the struggle has been preparation. Perhaps the delay has been preparation. Because preparation often looks like frustration when you do not know what God is doing. Imagine a person learning to fly an airplane. From the outside, it looks slow. It looks repetitive. It looks boring. But every lesson matters. Every practice matters. Every correction matters. Because one day the training becomes necessary. The same is true in life. The lessons you are learning today may become the keys to tomorrow. The strength you are developing today may become the reason you survive future challenges. The wisdom you are gaining today may become the answer someone else needs tomorrow. Nothing is wasted. Not the tears. Not the delays. Not the disappointments. Not the questions. Not even the mistakes. God has a way of redeeming things people thought were beyond repair. That is one of the most beautiful truths of faith. People see damage. God sees possibility. People see failure. God sees growth. People see endings. God sees beginnings. People see limitations. God sees opportunities. And that difference changes everything. Because when God becomes involved, impossible situations begin looking different. Suddenly obstacles become stepping stones. Suddenly setbacks become lessons. Suddenly delays become preparation. Suddenly pain becomes purpose. This is why fear is being arrested. Because fear always tries to tell the wrong story. Fear says you are alone. God says He is with you. Fear says nothing will improve. God says keep moving forward. Fear says the battle is too big. God says His power is greater. Fear says it is over. God says the story continues. Which voice will you believe? That question determines everything. Every day you choose which voice gets your attention. Every day you choose which voice gets your focus. Every day you choose which voice influences your decisions. Choose wisely. Because what you repeatedly listen to eventually shapes how you see the world. If you only listen to fear, the future will look frightening. If you only listen to negativity, opportunities will look impossible. If you only listen to doubt, even blessings will seem unreachable. But when you listen to faith, everything changes. Not because challenges disappear, but because your perspective changes. And perspective is powerful. Two people can stand in the same storm. One sees destruction. The other sees growth. One sees defeat. The other sees opportunity. The difference is perspective. That is why God spends so much time transforming the way people think. Because transformed thinking creates transformed living. A renewed mind creates renewed vision. A renewed vision creates renewed action. And renewed action creates renewed results. So if you feel tired today, remember this. Being tired does not mean you are defeated. Being discouraged does not mean you are abandoned. Being challenged does not mean you are failing. Sometimes it simply means you are human. And even in your humanity, God remains faithful. Even in your weakness, God remains faithful. Even in your uncertainty, God remains faithful. Even in your questions, God remains faithful. His faithfulness is not dependent on your feelings. His faithfulness is not dependent on circumstances. His faithfulness is part of His nature. And because of that, you can move forward with confidence. Not confidence in yourself alone, but confidence in the one who walks beside you. The one who sees tomorrow. The one who knows the ending from the beginning. The one who never abandons His children. The one who continues working even when you cannot see it. And right now, He is working. Even if you cannot see it. Even if you do not understand it. Even if the evidence seems hidden. God is working. The arrest of fear has begun. The arrest of doubt has begun. The arrest of hopelessness has begun. Truth is rising. Faith is rising. Hope is rising. And the next chapter of your story is closer than you realize. Do not stop now. Do not turn back now. Do not surrender now. You have come too far. And heaven is not finished with your story yet. Now there is one final truth that many people never discover until much later in life. The greatest battles are not always against circumstances. They are not always against people. They are not always against problems. Many times, the greatest battle is the battle for your attention. Because whatever has your attention eventually influences your direction. And whatever influences your direction eventually influences your destination. This is why so many distractions appear right before important moments. This is why confusion often increases right before clarity arrives. This is why doubt often becomes louder right before a breakthrough. The enemy understands something. He understands that if he cannot stop your purpose, he will try to distract you from it. If he cannot destroy your faith, he will try to weaken your focus. If he cannot remove God's promises, he will try to convince you to stop believing them. But today, something different is happening. Today, heaven is calling your attention back. Back to faith. Back to hope. Back to purpose. Back to trust. Because there are things ahead that require a stronger version of you. Not a fearful version. Not a defeated version. Not an exhausted version. A stronger version. A wiser version. A more confident version. A more faithful version. And every challenge you have faced has been preparing you for that person. Think about the struggles that once seemed impossible. Think about the moments that once felt overwhelming. Think about the obstacles that once appeared too large. You survived them. Not because they were easy, but because God was building something inside you. Strength. Wisdom. Patience. Character. Resilience. The very qualities that will carry you into the next season of your life. Many people want victory. But they do not want the process that creates victory. Many people want strength. But they do not want the challenges that develop strength. Many people want wisdom. But they do not want the experiences that produce wisdom. Yet those experiences matter. Every lesson matters. Every challenge matters. Every season matters. Even the seasons you would never choose for yourself. Because God has a way of turning difficult seasons into powerful testimonies. One day, The thing that made you cry may become the story that helps someone else keep going. One day, the struggle that almost broke you may become the reason someone else finds hope. One day, the lesson you learned through pain may become the answer another person desperately needs. Nothing is wasted. Nothing. Not one prayer. Not one tear. Not one act of faith. Not one moment of perseverance. God sees it all. And He remembers it all. That is why you must never confuse silence with absence. There are moments when God seems quiet. Moments when answers feel delayed. Moments when direction feels unclear. But silence does not mean abandonment. A teacher may be silent during a test. Yet the teacher is still present. A builder may work behind walls. Yet the builder is still working. A seed may appear lifeless underground. Yet growth is already happening. Never assume that nothing is happening simply because you cannot see it. Some of God's greatest works happen beneath the surface. Beneath your understanding. Beneath your expectations. Beneath what your eyes can currently recognize. And perhaps that is exactly what is happening now. Perhaps while you have been worrying, God has been preparing. Perhaps while you have been questioning, God has been arranging. Perhaps while you have been doubting, God has been working. The story is larger than you realize. The picture is bigger than you can currently see. And one day, many things that seem confusing today will finally make sense. Until then, trust. Trust when you understand. Trust when you do not. Trust when the path is clear. Trust when the path is uncertain. Trust when life feels easy. Trust when life feels difficult. Because trust keeps moving even when understanding has not yet arrived. Now let us return to the message that began this journey. God is crying to reach you. Why? Because He loves you. Because He sees your value. Because He sees your future. Because He sees what you are capable of becoming. Because He refuses to give up on you. Even when you feel like giving up on yourself. And the emergency? The emergency is not that heaven has abandoned you. The emergency is that fear has been trying to convince you otherwise. The emergency is that doubt has been trying to take control. The emergency is that discouragement has been trying to steal your vision. The emergency is that hopelessness has been trying to write the ending of a story that is not finished. That is why the arrest is happening. The arrest of fear. The arrest of despair. The arrest of lies. The arrest of everything that has tried to stand between you and your purpose. Truth is stepping forward. Hope is stepping forward. Faith is stepping forward. And when faith steps forward, fear begins to lose its authority. You may still face challenges. You may still encounter obstacles. You may still experience difficult seasons. But challenges do not determine your destiny. Obstacles do not determine your destiny. Temporary seasons do not determine your destiny. God determines your destiny. And that truth changes everything. The world changes constantly. Circumstances change constantly. People change constantly. But God's character remains the same. His love remains the same. His faithfulness remains the same. His promises remain the same. That consistency becomes an anchor when everything else feels uncertain. And perhaps someone listening right now desperately needs that anchor. Perhaps you have been carrying questions nobody can answer. Perhaps you have been fighting battles nobody understands. Perhaps you have been trying to stay strong for so long that you have forgotten what rest feels like. Hear this clearly. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not beyond hope. You are not beyond restoration. You are not beyond healing. You are not beyond a new beginning. The same God who brought you through yesterday is already present in tomorrow. The same God who sustained you through previous storms can sustain you through this one. The same God who opened doors before can open doors again. The same God who restored before can restore again. Nothing about your situation is greater than His ability to guide you. Nothing. Not your fears. Not your failures. Not your doubts. Not your circumstances. Nothing. So as this message comes to a close, remember what heaven wants you to remember. Lift your eyes higher. Look beyond today's problems. Look beyond today's frustrations. Look beyond today's disappointments. Because your future is larger than this moment. Your purpose is larger than this season. Your story is larger than this chapter. And God is still writing it. There are victories you have not seen yet. Blessings you have not received yet. Prayers you have not seen answered yet. Opportunities you have not discovered yet. People you have not met yet. Doors you have not walked through yet. Miracles of timing you have not witnessed yet. The journey is not over. In many ways, it is only beginning. That is why hope remains. That is why faith remains. That is why courage remains. Because God remains. And as long as God remains, there is always a reason to keep moving forward. Always. So walk into tomorrow with confidence. Walk into tomorrow with faith. Walk into tomorrow with expectation. Walk into tomorrow believing that what God started, He is able to complete. The arrest of fear has begun. The arrest of doubt has begun. The arrest of hopelessness has begun. And the freedom that follows will change everything. Your story is not ending. Your purpose is not ending. Your hope is not ending. This chapter is closing. But a greater chapter is already opening. And heaven is reminding you of one final truth. The God who called you is still with you. The God who loves you is still with you. The God who guides you is still with you. And because He is with you, your best days may be much closer than you think. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Keep moving forward.